Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Recruiting Podcast. I'm Billy Embody. Thanks for joining us. We've got Shea Dixon here because it is the biggest weekend of the year. After last year, a legendary recruiting weekend. That is the Bayou Splash. Shea, it's about that time.
It is about that time. I'm looking over the visitor list now. It matches it last year. There's around 30 plus guys, I would say, were invited, and that includes commits. That includes some 2025 targets we'll talk about, and then guys from the 2026 class, which are about to be juniors next year, and then a couple of 2027 guys. So they've spanned three different classes here. But before we start, Billy, I will say, and the shout out to the Bengal Tiger fam out there. If you're not a member, you can sign up right now, just $1. We'll get you a month that carries you through all of this, but through fall camp as well. So all the way up to the start of the season, we've had a bunch of new signups lately. But a thank you to all of our longtime members, our new members, but only $1 at the Bengal Tiger. And look, right now on the homepage, there are my thoughts with three different stories on all three levels of visitors, whether it's the commits, whether it's these 2025 guys as they push for the number one class, or whether it's for the future. So support us by here, look on YouTube, giving us a follow and a like or wherever you're listening. But we do hang out all day on the Bengal Tiger and on the message board. So $1 for a month is a deal you shouldn't pass up. Tell your friends about it. If you're already a member, get somebody else to sign up, and we'll very much appreciate it. We want to make sure LSU Nation is repped as On3 continues to grow.
Yeah, and what a better weekend to break the seal, so to speak, and jump on the Bengal Tiger. And I will say the thread from last year got bumped this week. It is one of the legendary threads I've ever been a part of. So don't miss out this year. And let's jump into that weekend. And Shea, to lay it out, Friday is the Bayou Splash, and it'll be an afternoon kind of, guys will start arriving sometimes Thursday evening, sometimes Friday morning, sometimes right in time for the Bayou Splash, and it'll roll into the evening, and then some guys will hang out and spend the night and then head on back home or maybe to another college. This is with the dead period ending for 5 days or so for these college coaches. This is the last time to make an impact on them before the dead period hits and fall camps around the country fire up. And LSU is really got one of the visitor lists around the country this weekend. And so we want to start with the commits and to shout out those guys that are coming in, because LSU was able to assemble another quality group of obviously commits rolling through, and they'll be able to help recruit these guys that are coming in. But guys like Harlan Berry and JT Lindsay, two of the best running backs in the country. LSU bringing back Tyler Miller and Carius Kern. Again, two of the best offensive linemen in the country. And on the defensive side of the ball, Shea, it is a loaded group of commits that are making their way to Baton Rouge.
It is. And look, a number of these guys who are committed as part of the number 3 class in the country did so over the past month. Really, they had 6 commits in 16 days, a 16-day stretch in July this month. So getting a number of those guys back is a big deal, whether it be Zion Williams, who skyrocketed into the top 100 as a defensive lineman, defensive tackle commitment for Bo Davis. Same with Brandon Brown, a 4-star in the On 300. Those guys committed on back-to-back days to get the ball rolling, really, for LSU around July 4th, Billy. Damian Shanklin, a top 100 prospect, is coming in from Indianapolis. He recently committed. You look at a guy like Jace Thomas out of Destrehan. He recently committed. He's coming to campus for the first time as an LSU commitment, or since the dead period ended and he announced that commitment, but also with teammates, and Phillip Wright, who's committed to Michigan. We'll talk more about him in a bit. And then Jabari Mack, a top 5 receiver for next year's class. So good to get those guys back around. And look, obviously, there are a number of commits, and we talk more in depth on the site about the importance of getting some of these guys like Carius Kern and Tyler Miller back on campus, offensive linemen who we at On3 have ranked as the number 2 and 3 offensive linemen, interior offensive linemen in the entire country. We opened up kind of a little more on why it's so important that them and others are back this weekend, as you said, during a very small window where it's a dead period, then kids can visit, then it goes dead again starting on the 1st for a whole month until the season begins. So very key. But to answer the question before we move on from the committed guys, yes, DJ Picket, the newest 5-star commit, will be there coming in from Florida. Number 1 corner on 3. A huge win for Corey Raymond. Got that one done, beating out Oregon, Miami, plenty of others who were in the mix and wanted DJ Picket. But LSU gets him, and they'll have him in town this weekend. The other 5-star, Harlan Berry in the class, or one of the others, Harlan Berry, number 1 running back, he'll be there. But Bryce Underwood will not. They had a former Belleville teammate pass away tragically, played at Utah State this past weekend, I should say. So Belleville community hit hard by that one. Thoughts and prayers with them, but Bryce and those guys are staying up there. So as we move forward and look at this list, Billy, it is good to have a number of these commits on campus. And again, most notably the ones who just committed. You want to have them back kind of right away to set the tone.
Let's go to DJ Pickett, though, for just a second here, because LSU did land him. And this is one of those recruitments that when you go back to January and Corey Raymond gets back on campus as secondary coach, we dropped the tidbit right away. I think the first guy he went and saw was DJ Pickett down there in Zephyr Hills, just outside of Tampa, my hometown. And he was a priority for Corey Raymond back to his days at Florida. But like we reported back in January, the overall sentiment was DJ Pickett is going to go out of state. That was kind of what most people around the recruitment thought. Obviously, Miami ended up being in his final 3 along with Oregon, but Corey Raymond pressed all the right buttons in this recruitment. And as we saw with Bryce Underwood, you've got to have the NIL component of this as well. And LSU clearly checked the box to beat out those 2 programs, which, have been NIL powers in a sense in that world of college recruiting now. And take us through, though. You and I talked while I was at SEC Media Days, and when I got done talking to you and you were talking about some of the things you were hearing on DJ, it was all starting to add up that either they were kind of wasting a bunch of their own time as a family talking to LSU this much, which has happened here and there, or they were going to LSU, and sure enough, they landed DJ Pickett.
Yeah, through all that Oregon, when he made you got to think about it and step back. Before he said that he would not wait until October and that he was going to announce in July, visits were done and LSU was the presumed leader. Well, very quickly this narrative got floated that, and from numerous sources and outlets out there, that it was Oregon and Miami, that LSU was 3rd, or that they weren't even in it. When DJ put out his announcement date and graphic, it did have a top 3 with LSU on it. And look, I told everyone on the board, on the Bengal Tiger, and in the stories I wrote, I said, I don't believe that to be the case. I don't believe they're 3rd. I don't believe they're out of it. In fact, I think that they're probably going to end up getting him. Now, Oregon did, and Miami, make this tough on LSU down the stretch just to make sure they were holding on. But I think it goes back to what you said about DJ Pickett from the start. When Corey Raymond got hired, within days, DJ Pickett was on campus. And at On3 Elite in Nashville, I sat down and talked with him for a bit. Kind of in a non-interview setting, and he couldn't even remember. I think he counted up in his head that he had been 5 times in 4 months to LSU's campus. So the interest was real. Development is big for him. Patrick Peterson is someone that he grew close to the Peterson family through his recruitment. Corey Raymond setting that one up to where even Patrick Peterson being in town on DJ Pickett's official visit to LSU. That doesn't happen for every corner out there, and it goes to show how much they think of the number 1 corner in America. And yes, look, all that Oregon buzz, Oregon picks were going in, Miami's making a run, Oregon's got them locked up. That whole time, LSU was talking to the Pickett family daily, working through everything, and really they felt good about it through sources. But about 48 hours out, there was a sense of this is done. He's coming to LSU. But all of the public rhetoric was LSU's not even in this. So some were surprised that he committed to LSU. I don't think LSU fans were. I think they knew that this one was one that Corey Raymond and the staff had to win for so many reasons. One being corner's a major need, and Pickett's the best prospect in the country.
Another reason to subscribe to the Bengal Tiger. We let people have some fun and certainly have their own opinions. And there were some moments there in early July where it was touch and go, even after landing a quality bunch of highly touted defensive linemen. But for Corey Raymond, he always had them in the mix for DJ Pickett, and Bengal Tiger subscribers knew that. Shea, as LSU continues down this road to rebuild this defense, one of the top guys that is coming in this weekend to see LSU is another 5-star and making his way from the state of Texas, a massive priority for Blake Baker and Jake Olson, and that is Jonah Williams, also a priority for Jay Johnson, the baseball coach. And that is because Jonah, the number one safety by every recruiting service, if On3's rankings ended today, he'd be a 5-star plus prospect. He is somebody that LSU is pushing for in a big way, and they're hoping to really make a move, at least going into the fall with him, to set the table for them to be maybe the favorite to land him. And they might already be the favorite to land him.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, this is one of those recruitments. You and I talked about it, Billy, the other day, where On3 RPM picks have gone in for overtime for 3 different teams, and LSU's yet to be one of them. I won't be surprised, Billy. You won't be surprised, especially if you get that itch to make a pick based off kind of little rumblings you've heard here and there. Not that LSU's getting them, but that they're in a very, very good spot here, better than most think. And I said this from the start, that I thought it would come down for a kid who wants to play baseball and football in college, and is he an MLB draft risk? Not to the highest degree. And football-wise, his future is through the roof. I mean, this is the number one safety in America. So I think of him, even through sources when I've asked about him, this is a Jamal Adams type. This is a guy who can go football, play 3 years, leave, and be a first-round pick at a safety position where, unless you're Jamal Adams, unless you're Kyle Hamilton, you're not going in the first round. Well, Jonah Williams is that type of guy. He can get that type of money with the different slot values that come with being a first-round pick. And I think looking at LSU, Corey Raymond, Jake Olson, Blake Baker, they've all done a really good job here baseball-wise when Jonah's been to campus. Jay Johnson's been there to roll out the red carpet for him, and we know how Jay Johnson recruits. They've got, whether it's the portal or high school or getting guys back on the team, he's been dominant. So you couple that with LSU's football recruiting efforts, Billy, and then distance. Yes, look, he's a Galveston kid. Yes, he goes to Ball, but I need to rewind. I kind of said from the start, I thought it would be LSU A&M. I thought those two schools were close to home. Ball's got the A&M connects, but they were close to Galveston, and they offered up the chance to play football and baseball at a high level, right? Like among the Oklahomas, Oregons, Texas is kind of getting into the mix here, but you name it, there are not many schools out there that are that close to his home that fit both needs and criteria. What kind of shakes things up? Does the A&M baseball stuff matter? Well, we never saw him have any Texas interest, and now he'll be at Texas this weekend. Obviously, that A&M baseball staff going to Texas plays a role there. We will see how this continues to unfold. I think this is one that goes to signing day or closer to signing day, just based off of what a lot of people have said. But I am in the camp that I think that no matter what this rotating top group is, LSU's never not been in it. So that tells me that Jonah is very serious about LSU.
Yeah, his high school coach at Ball was Blake Baker's high school head coach. So a good tie for LSU there, without a doubt. So, yeah, like you said, Shea, I am very close to putting in my RPM for Jonah Williams. Not that they're –
Hey, now.
I don't think he changes his timeline. I don't think he pops this weekend. We've seen things change for multiple guys. Damian Shanklin moved up his timeline. But I like LSU's positioning in this recruitment. And as we learned with DJ Picket, LSU's on a little bit of a heater. And I think one RPM pick that we probably both would have wanted to make looking back, just from all the things that we heard throughout the DJ Picket recruitment, was that he was that big of a priority. Priority doesn't always mean you get him, of course, but there are a lot of other things that check the boxes for DJ Picket early in that recruitment when Corey Raymond got to LSU. Jonah Williams is kind of similar. I think he was probably the first person Blake Baker went and saw when he got here.
Look, I did put a DJ Picket pick in, but it was just right before his announcement and halfway because I was just furious that I was sticking with LSU and everybody else had said it was not even in the mix for LSU. And right before his decision came, DJ called the coaches at each school and let them know. And I kind of, I wasn't going down without putting it out there that, hey, look, I've been saying this, so I'm just going to do it. I don't care. But you're right. That was one that back in March or whatever, remember by middle of March and all of February was dead. He had visited 3 times already. Like LSU was the leader all spring. I don't know. I'm still looking back. Baffled at how a 2-week stretch of just saying, hey, I'm announcing led to LSU's not even in the mix anymore. Like presumed known leader to not in the mix didn't jive for me, but I'm with you. I know what you mean there. And look, I've said it before on the pod or maybe on the board. I said this on the board. I'll share it on the pod and then keep the rest of the board members. But from speaking with sources, there's been many conversations where sources have said, hey, look, I think LSU's in a pretty great spot here with Jonah Williams. And it's like, really? You think like leader? Yeah, maybe so. So again, for a kid who's had picks in for 3 different schools, I don't think he's playing as much as the games as he's just got everyone guessing because he takes visits. He's got a lot of schools interested and he has nice things to say about everybody. But at the end of the day, I do like where LSU sits.
Yeah. Stellar kid. We'll see how it goes. Who do you want to touch on next? Because there's another, elite wide receiver coming in. We talked about Phillip Wright. There's all sorts of prospects. You've dropped a list, and we'll keep much of that for the Bengal Tiger subscribers. But
we have to talk about the other 5-star, right? And Jamie French.
Teed you up for that. Go.
Okay, so Jamie. So Jamie French is a 5-star receiver. He's one of this group of guys with DeCorian Moore and Khalil Lockett and CJ Wiley, Derek Meadows, who committed to LSU. They all made official visits to LSU in June. He was committed to Bama. Saban retires. He decommits from Bama. The thing that stuck with me here with Jamie French, and look, Texas has been considered the team to beat, the kind of presumed leader, but he'll use the dead period. The only 2 visits he will make are LSU and then Miami. Then he's going to announce on August 30th. This could be an LSU, Miami, Texas battle that's brewing. And I was talking to Chad Simmons earlier today about this. He's talked to enough people in different camps where each kind of person that he really trusts that may have some insight into that school can convince him that French could choose that school. And I think that Jamie French may be leaning to a school in his mind, but I don't think he's decided. So I think that it's pretty big to have him back on campus. But the one thing that has stuck with me is when at On3 Elite, when I was speaking with him and his mom before one of the dinners, they had talked about being from Louisiana, and I asked him a bit more, and they said, look, yeah, he's playing at Mandarin in Jacksonville, but he said it's just 3 of us living there. And his mom said that the rest of the family's back in Louisiana, at least most of them. She grew up in the Feliciana area. She went to Southern for college. But yes, he's playing high school ball over in Jacksonville. But with so much family at LSU or in Baton Rouge, and LSU recruiting him for so long, I just think that this is one that you can't sleep on. I'm not ready to say they're going to get him, but I've always thought that they would be in that final group because of the combination of A, the connections, proximity to family, his mother's side, but B, that they've recruited him heavily, and LSU is a top 3 class with the number 1 quarterback in the country committed and coming off a season where they had the number 1 offense and put 2 wide receivers into the first round. So I think that it may be too early to call. I'm in that boat, but they're in it. I don't think this is a done deal to Texas.
Yeah, I think with the Jamie French recruitment, that was something that we mentioned at least throughout his recruitment, is that it seems like each school starts to get a little bit of buzz at each turn in his recruitment, at each visit. The one school that at least over the course of the summer appears to be, firmly in the mix and is hanging on to that buzz is Texas. And LSU getting him back on campus has really kind of made that move back towards that, as well as Miami. I think this is one where out of all the receivers that LSU has been recruiting in terms of how the actual recruitment has played out, this one, it's not the wildest in terms of like, oh my gosh, you got to hear this story about Jamie French, but it has the most turns, in my opinion, as far as where he's been favoring. Remember, Ohio State was there in there for him in the spring as well. This one, I think, is one that's just going to keep some people guessing. But LSU getting him back on campus is a major move for the Tigers because, look, they have Teron Francis, they have Derek Meadows. They need to make a little bit of a move with another top receiver and capitalize on having Bryce Underwood in this class. I mean, that's where you capitalize, is bringing in guys that can really, change that offense with Bryce Underwood. And they did that by landing Derek Meadows. They had Teron Francis. Getting Jamie French would be kind of the icing on the cake for that skill position haul that LSU's after.
Do you want to throw up some breaking news on the pod? We just said we wouldn't be shocked if Jonah Williams took it to signing day, and now Hayes Fawcett at On 3 has revealed that Jonah will announce on August 24th. Thoughts?
I kind of want to put my pick in right now, actually.
Do it.
I'm doing it live on the pod. We're not live technically, but I am doing it right now. So I'll either have egg on my face by the evening or feel pretty good about what I've heard over the last few days. So,
and they're getting him to campus this weekend. And the only two places, what I think he's doing, LSU, Texas, and Texas really hasn't been in the mix until now. This could be good news for an LSU team that's looking to rebuild that DB room.
Shea, while I type a couple notes here, why don't you break down what a Jonah Williams commitment could mean to LSU?
Did you put
room?
I just threw a little something on the board. Did you post anything yet?
I am posting it right now.
Okay, you handle that. I'll talk. What would you like me to talk about? All right, so Jonah Williams, 5-star number one safety, who we just said we wouldn't be shocked if he takes it closer to signing day, is ready to announce on August 24th. Top 5 is going to be LSU, Southern Cal, Miami, A&M, and Oregon is the other team there. So no Oklahoma on that list. But again, I've always thought it would be LSU or A&M. We'll see if Texas doesn't get in the mix. Oregon has caught the on 3 RPM picks. I just think that's a little far from home for him. But yes, live on the pod here, Billy's going to go to the board and talk a little bit more about why he's putting in the first on 3 RPM pick for LSU. But moving on, look, I've got the visitor list up, talking more about Jonah on there. We also have Philip Wright, as you mentioned, from Destrehan coming in at receiver. We talked about Jamie French. Philip Wright's committed to Michigan. He's got an LSU offer, though. He's about to be a senior at Destrehan. He's that in-state Louisiana wide receiver that's next up on the board for LSU right now. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. But there is a number of people I would put on commit watch for this 2025 class. You can read more about that on the Bengal Tiger, but that includes a tight end. That includes some kids that I don't know if you put them on commit watch yet, but that are committed to other SEC schools that are coming in, that all are on the defensive side, whether it's linebacker or DB. And then there's Aiden Anding out of Ruston, who nearly popped for Texas a month ago, didn't because he got an LSU offer, and now is making his first visit to LSU since getting the offer. So it'll be big to have the Ruston High product down. He could be one after DJ Picket that with Jabari Antoine decommitting from LSU, deciding to leave the state and commit to Miami. Where do they go at corner? Aiden Anding makes perfect sense. So he's one that I think we'll be watching closely. And then Anquan Fagans, a longtime top 5 safety who they've been targeting, is down to a handful of teams. It's really LSU or Auburn. He'll be at both schools this weekend, then announce on Monday. So keep an eye on that one, Anquan Fagans. Billy, that's kind of the 2025 group, and then the commits. Do we need to hit an ad read before we talk about some of these 2026 and beyond? Because there's some 5 stars. There's some number 1 overall prospects. Not some, just one, but not one number 1 overall prospect in that mix. But it is going to be, like I said, with a little more than 30 players invited in. And I think all but 2 of them, maybe just one, already have an offer from LSU. this could be a weekend that leads to commits, that leads to silent commits, that leads to momentum being built, which is what happened with Bryce Underwood and guys like that a year ago. Harlem Berry, when they were at the Bayou Splash, and they end up later committing to LSU. So Friday, stick around all day on the Bengal Tiger. And look, it's Wednesday when we're recording this. The visitor list is already up, complete visitor list broken down from every angle there is. And then we've got, on top of that, tomorrow, Thursday, I've got some stories coming on flip watch guys, on guys that I think could be on commit watch. And then obviously the news of Jonah Williams. I did a story earlier this week saying you couldn't count LSU out for Jonah Williams. Now he's set a decision date. A big stretch coming up here for LSU. Again, Friday, July 26th is the date, and we will have full coverage. And then as soon as that ends, we'll have tidbits, we'll have interviews. If commits happen, we'll have that breaking news. All of that will be on the Bengal Tiger. It'll be on 3. You know where to find us at thebengaltiger.com or on Twitter, link back to the site. But we'll be hanging out on the message board all weekend, which is where Billy is right now, sharing his thoughts on the news of Jonah Williams, a 5-star safety, setting his commitment date.
Well, this is the perfect time because My Perfect Franchise is our sponsor, and they've been riding with us for quite some time now, but they also have a tendency to get tied to some recruiting wins and some recruiting losses as well. But if this one pans out, hopefully we could put to bed that narrative, because My Perfect Franchise is there for LSU fans. Andy Ludicky and his entire team, they can help you through all of the different ways that you can change your life, whether you want to leave the corporate rat race for the American dream, or get a side hustle and make some money while working your current job, or diversify and build wealth and leave a legacy to your kids, your family. Andy is a franchise consultant and a franchise owner. He does it for free as far as consulting people on how to find franchises that fit their skill sets, time constraints, financial requirements, all of those things. And he is up to date on what the trends are in the franchise world, because we always have a call with him about once a quarter and update us on what is trending in the franchise world. And myperfectfranchise.net has really the heads up on the trends when it comes to what you should look for in this space versus some that maybe are doing as well as some people think. So Andy Ludicky, you can reach out to him, go to myperfectfranchise.net, or give him a call at 404-973-9901. You can also email him, Andy, A-N-D-Y, at myperfectfranchise.net. He is the perfect guy to reach out to when it comes to getting into the franchise world and finding a way to create a whole nother source of wealth for you and your family. So we appreciate My Perfect Franchise for their support of the Bengal Tiger, and On3, big guy when it comes to supporting On3 as well. So he enjoys recruiting, and he would enjoy that transition there, I feel like, into that ad read. So Shea, we're not done with talking about 5 stars. We're not done with talking about elite talent coming to Baton Rouge for the Bayou Splash. And we want to go ahead and jump into the mix with these 2026s and some of the other guys in that class that are making their way to LSU. And what better way to start with than giving a shout out to Brad Davis, because that man continues to be one of the tireless recruiters for Brian Kelly, and he's got the number 2 offensive tackle in the country, a top 5 prospect in America, Jackson Cantwell, coming all the way down from Missouri, 2026's 4th overall prospect. Big body there, 6'8", 305. If you're looking for somebody that LSU can maybe make a move with this weekend, Jackson Cantwell has got to be on the top of that list.
Definitely. And look, this son of 2 former Olympians, and he's a shot put kid, excels in track and field, but also has got elite measurables, great athleticism, as you'd imagine, with 2 parents who are well-known Olympians, and is a top 5 overall prospect already, pretty much across the board, no matter the recruiting site. Looks like only ESPN has him at 6, but within the top 5 for the rest, and on 3. is the number 2 offensive tackle, number 4 overall prospect. Big to get him in. Look, it's early there for the Missouri prospect. Everyone's going to be on him. But nice to have right out of the dead period a 5-star offensive tackle like that getting down to campus. Brad Davis has just been on fire with offensive linemen, which we've talked about plenty on the site since he's come to LSU. And then year over year, it just seems to be getting better and better. But even better, Billy, is when you have a 5-star, it's the win in the trenches thing, right? Like, you have a 5-star tackle visiting. Okay, well, what about a 5-star D lineman? Not only that, but I'll one-up you, Billy. He's the number 1 player in the country. Oh, and I'll give you one more. He's from Louisiana. It is indeed Jakeem Stewart. Coming out of St. Aug, the 6'5", 6'6", about 275 prospect, is On3's number 1 prospect, number 1 D lineman, 5-star in the early rankings, and LSU holds the On3 RPM lead. I've got an On3 RPM pick there that I made when he was like in middle school, probably 9th grade. But everyone in the country's after him. He takes tons of visits, but at the end of the day, Billy, and I don't think that's this weekend, I can't see LSU losing out on an Aug kid when Frank Wilson is on the staff and they're recruiting as a whole like they are right now.
Yeah, that would be a massive land for LSU. And look, there's been rumors about him reclassifying and doing those things, and we'll see. I mean, that we've gone through the summer now, and that hasn't really hit yet. But we'll be keeping an eye on that at least. But for LSU to continue to rebuild the defensive line room and finish that job, at least in the interim, landing Jakeem Stewart is a must. And we know Brad Davis has revamped the offensive line. You can look at Lamar Brown, another Louisiana prospect who's has said he's not visiting anywhere this weekend, as a big target for LSU that they obviously need to get on board as well. But when you look at a true must-land type of prospect, Jakeem Stewart is that guy. I think LSU's had a ton of lead up in preparing for Jakeem Stewart's recruitment and getting all of the pitches down in terms of, just putting it together for a guy that is this highly sought after from coast to coast. And I'm with you. He's just one of those guys that in the new era with Brian Kelly and the alignment that has taken place with the NIL department and, Taft and Bayou Traditions, I think they have what it takes to get Jakeem Stewart, and he's worth every penny.
I think it's one of the, no-brainer. And look, Louisiana's deep at D-line next year. He's not the only one. There's a number of them that are, including a handful that'll be on campus this weekend, that are going to be big targets for them. So when you talk about rebuilding the DB and D-line rooms, which are the two that get talked about the most, I think 2026 can go a long way towards that on the D-line. They're already off to a good start right now with 2 4-stars in Zion Williams and Brandon Brown. I've got an On3 RPM pick in for them to land a 3rd guy at D tackle. But when you look ahead, yes, that 2026 class is really a chance to kind of, if you can keep a Jakeem Stewart home and others, you're going to position yourself really well, not just at D tackle, but to push for the number 1 overall class again, as they are right now. So big news to have him in. Look, he can visit anywhere he wants at any time, and he does. So we go back to the dead period, ends on Thursday, but begins again on Monday or whatever the first is. So when you only have a handful of days in there to get guys to campus, LSU getting him in is really massive. Those are the 2 5-stars out of the 2026 prospects, but a number of top 100 guys will be on campus, including a handful of top 50 prospects will be there, guys who are rising juniors and beyond. And one that I will say as we wrap up the pod here and look, you can get this full list of guys on the Bengal Tiger right now with our thoughts on them. I broke down my thoughts on every one of these kids who's visiting. But coming out of Gulf Shores, Jermichael Garrett, yes, people live in Gulf Shores. They don't just go to the beach. They go to high school. And Jermichael Garrett is a 4-star linebacker, right? A 4-star linebacker that told On3's Chad Simmons this past week that in the next week or two, he thinks he might announce, and he's just going into his junior season, but he's got a ton of offers, and he's already said, hey, look, I'm down to LSU and Auburn. He's a top 150 guy. He will be at LSU Friday, but then he goes to Auburn's Big Cat weekend. So both teams get a kind of final crack at him before he announces. The on-3 RPM points to LSU. I'm just giving you the name Jermichael Garrett because he's a guy that will be here, and I have heard his name from sources more than one time when it comes to 2026 linebackers. He's just the first one who's come out and said, hey, I'm ready to commit somewhere. So we will see if they make any big push there. But Billy, with more than 30-something guys, I mean, and we kind of gave our thoughts on some of the top ones. Now, look, there's a lot more guys in the, as I mentioned, top 50, even top 25, top 20 that we didn't talk about who are going to be there this weekend. You've got chance to strengthen commitments. You've got chance to land commitments. You've got a chance to build momentum with guys like Jonah Williams, who will then commit, or Jamie French, who will then commit in August before their senior years. You've got chances to flip guys from other schools. I've counted 3, 4, almost 5 guys who are committed to other SEC or other schools right now around the country that will be at LSU this weekend. So in the recruiting world, this is what you call a little bit of it all. They've got committed, uncommitted, flip watch. It should be an entertaining weekend.
Oh yeah, this is one of those weekends that this is why you do what we do, and we're looking forward to killing it for the Bengal Tiger subs. And fall camp also is upon us too, so no better time to jump on the Bengal Tiger than right now.
That's right. $1. It's $1.
It's $1, guys. Jump on board and join us as I think that Jonah Williams thread might take off like a little mini Bayou Splash wading pool, if you will. So with that, Shea, you got anything else?
No, I put your story on the front page, and if anyone goes to the Bengal Tiger, by the time you're listening to this pod, you will see the visitor list broken down into 3 different articles with my thoughts on every kid who's there, as well as Billy's newest story on Jonah Williams and an on-3 RPM pick. The first one in favor of LSU and why he made the pick. So plenty to get to, and boy, we'll be hanging out all week. That's where you'll find us. So a shout out to all the members. Thanks for everybody who just even listens on the podcast. But again, if you want to hang with us every day, it's $1. So we'll be over at the Bengal Tiger.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time on another edition of the Bengal Tiger Recruiting Podcast. We'll be recapping what is going to be a heck of a weekend in Baton Rouge. So join us, and we will catch you guys with another edition then. So have a great weekend, everyone, and enjoy the Bayou Splash.